my channel. So I am going to do a combined wrap up. This is all the books that I have read from August and September wrapped into one video. So let's get into it. So in August, I read a total of 6 books. The first book that I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This is actually the 3rd book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I really loved it. I feel like when people look back on the series, this book kind of gets a bad rap because it's so long and the romance kind of takes a backseat. It's more about the politics, the war that is going on, but honestly, the plot was so action-packed. I was fully engrossed in the story. I did not even realize that I wasn't thinking about the romance, the love aspect that was going on, and honestly, after the 2nd book, I feel like it's fine. It's fine that the romance takes a backseat, and that's coming from someone that is an avid romance reader. Like, I just started getting back into fantasy this year, specifically this summer, and I ended up rating this book a 4.5. My favorite thing about this book is that we kind of see glimpses of more characters than just Farah and Rhysand, however you say his name. I still get it wrong, it feels like, but we really get to see relationships develop between Nesta and Cassian. There are little like hints and snippets which I ate up. Honestly, their budding relationship just kind of made the book for me. So the 2nd book I read in August was also from A Court of Thorns and Roses, that series, and it is A Court of Frost and Starlight. This is actually a novella. It's basically, in a nutshell, a Christmas special. It's fluffy, it's sweet, it's honestly a little bit boring, but hear me out. So much happened in the last book that it was an emotional roller coaster, and we needed a little bit of a break. We needed a reprieve, if you will. And that's exactly what this book did. It gave me fluffy vibes, very much just friendship, overall just like telling you how the characters are doing, how they're coping, and it really just sets up the next book. Overall, I rated this book a 3 out of 5. I didn't hate it, don't love it, but I will say this book also gets a lot of hate, which I get it. It's honestly, people question whether or not you really should read it. I do. I think you should, because it really is setting up crucial story and plot points for the next book, and because of that, it's a 3 out of 5, average. So the next book I read in August was A Court of Silver Flames. This is technically the 4th book in the series because the novella counts as 3.5, I think. And this is from Nesta's POV, or I guess in 3rd person, her POV. And it also has snippets of Cassian's POV, which I ate up. I love Cassian so much. And this is just really about Nesta and her healing journey, what she's going through, and it really changed her character in my eyes. I was like everybody else. I hated Nesta at the beginning. I just did not like her, but this book really changed that. We get to see what she's dealing with, how she's hurting, and I just loved it so much. Nesta is my comfort character. I love her to death, and I will die on that hill. No Nesta hate, please no. And if you want to see some snippets of my reading experience, I do have a reading vlog. It's like reading what I read in a week or something, that kind of vlog. You get to see my reactions, and I cried a lot because I love this book, and I love Nesta, and I love Cassian, and I honestly want to go back and reread it and annotate it fully because that's how obsessed I am. This book is honestly probably one of my favorite books that I have read this entire year. If I could, I would rate it 1,000 infinity stars, but we're gonna stay on that 5 scale rating, so it is a 5 out of 5. I love this book. It's my favorite out of the series. Yeah. So the next book that I read in August was Mile High by Liz Tomford. This is about Xanders and Stevie. It is a hockey romance, which you know I love. I love a good hockey romance. And Xanders is a hockey player in Chicago, and Stevie is a flight attendant for his they take charter planes to all their away games. So Stevie is a flight attendant for that charter plane company, and it is forbidden to date the players when you're a flight attendant working for this company. So it is a hockey romance. It is kind of bad boy, player reputation, guy meets good girl. The female main character is also plus size, so we love that representation. And it's also forbidden romance, kind of workplace romance, because he's kind of her boss in a way, and I loved it. It was such a fun, cute read. The spice goes wild. I rated it a 4 out of 5. I just love hockey romances. Honestly, hockey romances could do no wrong. I just eat it up every time. And the main guy, Xander's, he's 6'5". He wears chains and rings, and he has tattoos. Like, sign me up, okay? Love to hear it. Love to read about it. So the 5th book that I read in August was I'll Always Be With You by Monica Murphy. This is a part of the Lancaster Prep series, which is like an interconnected standalone series. And this is about Weston and Carolina, I want to say. Carolina, she's a Lancaster. She's one of the younger Lancasters. And she's a dancer. She has lived abroad to study dance for most of her teenage years, but for her senior year, she is forced to go to Lancaster Prep, and that is where she meets West. However, here's the kicker. They've already met before. They met in Paris, and they hit it off. They had a one-night stand, and she left that experience thinking that she's never going to see him again, and boom, he's at her new school. So, and it's very much boy obsessed. That's like the main thing I loved about this book, because a lot of the main male characters in the Lancaster Prep series, they don't really actively go after the girl until it's kind of around the 3rd act breakup. They're like, oh, like, I'm just using her, blah, 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 blah. But West knows that he's obsessed, and I just loved it. I ate it up. 4 out of 5. So the final book I read in August, everyone and their mother has been talking about this book. It has a chokehold on the book community, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And do I really need to get a synopsis on this book, because we know what it's about, but I will anyways, just in case. It is about Violet, and she has spent her entire life basically training to be a scribe, which is the people who record the history. They work in the libraries. Not a dangerous job, very safe, very stable. But her mother basically one day is like, you are going to be in the writer's quadrant. You're going to sign up, you're going to enlist, and you're going. And the writers are basically like the military. They have dragons, and to be a writer, you have to go to this war college and basically just survive, because everything is trying to kill you. It's very high stakes. There's a war going on, and yeah. So that is Fourth Wing. There are dragons. The main male character, Xaden, morally gray, love him. There's enemies to lovers. The banter, just so good. I actually filmed a reading vlog of my reading experience, but I just never uploaded it or edited it, because the minute I finished reading this book, school started, and then I was busy with school, so I just never had the time. So if you want to see that vlog still, let me know, because I will work my butt off to edit it and upload it. It's just kind of like in my head, I'm like, the time has passed. Like, who cares? But if you do care, please let me know. Overall, I rated this book a 4.5. I loved it. The minute the whole dragons came into the picture, that's when I was hooked. Up until then, it took me a little bit. I loved Violet and Xaden so much. But this is a 5-book series, or at least it's going to be. The next book comes out in November, I think. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm scared. I'm scared about the next book, okay? I'm also very excited. So, yeah, if you haven't read this yet, highly recommend, especially if you're new to fantasy, because the world building is not too complex. It's very action-packed. You're constantly second-guessing yourself. I really enjoyed it. So the first book I read in September was Twisted Hate. This is by Anna Wong. It's book 3 in the Twisted series, which is an interconnected standalone series. This is about Josh and Jules. They are very much enemies to lovers, as you can see by the Twisted Hate. It's also brother's best friend, kind of workplace romance because they both work at the same job, but he's a volunteer and she actually works there. I rated this a 3. I was really loving the enemies to lovers. The spice was crazy, but the third act breakup really got me. I just could not look at the main male character again with the same eyes. Honestly, it ruined his character for me, how he reacted to everything, and yeah, that's all I can say about it because I don't want to like give any spoilers away, but just know the third act breakup, it's hard to get through, okay? So the second book I read in August was Haunting Adeline by H.G. Carlton. This is book 1 in the cat and mouse duet, and I feel like the cat and mouse duet, you either love it or hate it. It gets a lot of hate, but also a lot of love. I honestly did not have any desire to read this duet until I saw Larry Reed's vlog of her reading book 1 and book 2, and just her reactions and overall hype just like made me buy this book. And it's about, I think his name is Zaid. Yeah, Zaid and Addie. Zaid is Addie's stalker. And, but, here's the kicker. He owns a company that basically helps take down human trafficking rings. And so that's kind of why he's so good at being a stalker. So it's very morally gray. He's a bad person, but he does good things. He's a good person that does bad things. Yeah, Addie is an author. She lives in this like old Victorian home that has been in her family for generations. And she recently uncovers some family secrets. And so a little bit of a subplot in this book is trying to uncover this like mystery that Addie has found out, things like that. I rated this book a 2.5. And hear me out. I don't hate it. Like, I'm gonna read the second book eventually, but I didn't love it. I honestly, I had to force myself to pick this book up and read it because it's just so long. I don't know, it's a really long book and it's just a lot of, he's stalking me, I'm scared, but I'm not gonna call the police. And there was an instance in the book where Zaid really opens up to Addie and they have this like heart to heart, and that really was a turning point for me. I really loved that part and I was very excited to kind of see their relationship develop and grow deeper, but then that never happened. They just had that like one deep moment and then never again did they talk about their feelings, and I think that's what was missing with this book for me. There was no like deep connection. Granted, there is book 2, so maybe that's where we're gonna find like that deeper connection that I'm looking for. So yeah, 2.5, we'll see how the second book goes. So the third and final book that I read in September was Divine Rivals. I actually read this for my book club at my college and I really, really loved it. It's about Iris and Roman. They both work at the same newspaper company and they're kind of rivals. They're up for the same promotion, but they both own these magical typewriters that have been in their family and they anonymously correspond to one another. So you kind of see this animosity at work between them, but then you also get to see glimpses of like their friendship developing and them sharing these intimate moments with one another through their letters. And there's also a war going on between gods. So this takes place in a very magical world. It feels a little bit historical in a sense as well because it is like typewriters. There isn't advanced technology. I don't know. But this was a 4.5 for me. I really, really love this book. I think about it quite often, honestly. I've been playing around with the rating, but I think it's a 4.5. I think that's where I stand. Yes, the world building has a little bit of gaps. It kind of takes a back seat in my mind, but the characters is what shines in this book. And I feel like when you go into it, you kind of need to know in the back of your mind that the world building is not complex, which is why it's such a great book for beginner fantasy readers. But if you are an avid fantasy lover, just know that it's not really the world building that makes this book, it's the characters. I love Roman so much, and I can't wait for the second book to come out. So that is it for this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I read as well, and let me know what you thought about them. Like, I would love to chat with you guys down in the comments. I also have a bookstagram. I post daily. I post reels, book updates, book reviews, things like that. So if you're interested in seeing more content from me, make sure to go follow my Booksta. It's linked in the description. It's called currently.overbooked. Make sure to follow it. I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to just have a little bit of book content in your everyday life. So yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.